I'm sick and tired of living in this small house. You need to make more money so we can get a decent place to live.
I'll sneak out and meet you around midnight. My parents are clueless, and they'll never know.
As long as you live under this roof, you'll do what I say.
I don't care what you say. You can't stop me from going to the party. I saw you checking her out.
I was just looking at the brand of her jeans. I thought they might look good on you.
All right, who's going to pray this time?
Me, dear Jesus, thank you for all the ways you blessed our family.
All right, today we're starting a new series called Bless This Home. We're going to be looking at our homes and our family life, and this will, that's important stuff for us. We love our families, we care about our homes. So this is going to have, we're going to cross territory that's valuable to everyone, but this is going to have a particular focus, especially on families that with kids as they're growing up, because honestly, you've got wet cement. Do you catch it, right? Like, it's not meant to be a joke, but do you get, you are in the process of forming your kids. That's not always going to be true. If you've got older kids or adult kids, that process is done in lots of ways. There's other types of influence, and certainly as grandparents, but as grandparents, it kind of comes wrapping back around, and you can have influence on your grandchildren. Now, it's different than if you were their parents, but it nonetheless is an important amount of influence. And so everyone's going to get something, but if you're in the process of raising kids, I want you really dialed in with this series here. You're kind of getting a double portion. So, all right, think about, let's think about food. I like to think about food. Oh, you laugh at that one. I see how it's going. Tough crowd here. Let's think about food. So, you're hungry, and you go to the store, and you're going down the snack aisle there. You got all the different types of chips, all the different size bags of chips. Now, what I do is I consider my size, and then I consider the size of the bag of chips. Right? I'm like, that looks like about a single serving size for me, right? And you pay more than what you think you ought to, but you're like, I'm getting a big bag of chips, and you get home, and you pop that thing open, and what do you find? You bought a half bag of air, and you're like, what is this? I should have bought two. At least that's what I think. Because I thought I was getting all of this to match all of me, and here really it's a whole lot of air. And, those food companies, they know exactly what they're doing, right? They put on this really big, shiny label on the outside. It looks good. It looks big. It's like, this is going to satisfy your cravings. And you've grown to understand, I'm going to have some disappointment when I open that thing up and go, oh, that's all I get. Well, we want to look at that kind of from a spiritual viewpoint for our homes, of going, we would certainly go, we're interested in being Christian families and raising Christian homes, but we have to be careful that doesn't just become a label. It doesn't become kind of advertisement. It promises one thing, it looks one way, but then when we really honestly open it up, that we go, oh, half my bag was air. That this really wasn't what we wanted it to be or claimed it to be or other people perceived it to be. That we want to go beyond just the label of Christian family and go, what does it look like to really lean into this and have a home, a blessed home in the way that God would say so. So we're going to look at Jesus's Beatitudes. It's part of his Sermon on the Mount, famous sermon. We're just going to look at a few of these, but we're going to look at them through the framework of going, how do they inform how we're raising kids or shaping our households? So let's take a look at the first one here. This is kind of in the middle of the Beatitudes. He says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Now, we're familiar with this, or if you've been in church, you're familiar with this, but Jesus is in the Beatitudes, he's kind of turning things upside down a little bit of going, all of those statements would be ones that kind of are set on edge. Like, we think one thing, and he comes along and goes, no, this is what God's really about, and you better understand what the program is. And so normally when we would use hunger and thirst, that's a bad thing. People aren't supposed to be hungry and thirsty. That's a state that I want to solve. I want to get out of hungering and thirsting. If you're hungry and you can't satisfy, that's a terrible place to be. And so Jesus is flipping this upside down and going, but this is a great place to be. This is a blessed place to be hungry, to be thirsty for God's righteousness. For they will be filled. So let's apply this to our home life. How would we do that? What's the question that we would want to ask? It's very simple, very profound. So in your home, what do you hunger for? What drives your family? What is the thing that your home life and your family are centered on? What gets your attention? What gets the priority? What do you spend your money on? What do you spend your time on? What do you go, man, this is the thing that we really need to get right. This is the thing that it's going to catch my attention. I might ignore a few other things, but man, this is always going to capture my attention, and it's going to have my focus. That's what you hunger for. You want to solve this. You want to figure it out. You want to make sure you get this right. That's the power of hungering and thirsting. What in your home, for your home, what do you hunger for? That's going to tell us whether you are blessed by God or not. And there's a lot of options. As Americans, we've got 1,000,001 options of what we can be hungry for and what we can pursue and what we can chase after and make the priority of our homes. Jesus is inviting us into this place of going, I'm inviting you to hunger and thirst for righteousness. So let's kind of explore here what that might look like. Let's look at the ways that we can get this wrong. So 2 ways that we can get it wrong. So there's this kind of a legalistic type of Christianity, and you could incorporate that into your home. Someone that kind of is in legalistic Christianity, their mantra is that rules make us right. Like, man, if we could just get all the right rules and we could get them communicated and implemented and followed, man, that would solve a whole lot of things. The rules are what's really important. And the Bible says, no. Now, that doesn't sound right. Because if you spend any time in church, you're like, if anybody believes in rules, it's church, right? Like, everything I've ever heard from God is he's got all these rules, right? How is that wrong? How is this not correct? The Bible says that rules cannot make us right. Not because the rules are bad, but because there's something wrong with us. It's not as though Jesus showed up and went, boy, you guys just had a lot of bad rules. You didn't have the right ones. Here, I came and I brought you a whole bunch of good rules, and if you want to be a Christian, you got to follow my set of rules. Jesus didn't do that at all. In fact, he went, no, God's rules from the very beginning were always right and good. He taught right out of them. But he went, they can never make you right. Not because they're wrong, but because you are broken. Jesus isn't inviting us into an age of going, here we've got the right set of rules, and you just need to implement them in your life. If the rules could make us right, we frankly wouldn't have needed Jesus. He came because he went, the rules just can't get you there. Now, that's not to say that rules are bad. Certainly there are good rules, and they're necessary. They're necessary for our lives, and they're certainly necessary as you're raising kids. You need to put rules and boundaries in place. They're going to have a very important role. But as we look at the Bible and the whole scope of the story, it says, no, be careful of this thinking of going, all it takes is to get the right rules in place. More so, we are kind of invited into living by God's wisdom, and that's a bit bigger. It's a little deeper and more profound, really, than a list of rules. So I think of it in terms of, like, as a word picture, like, think of a tree. A tree is this amazing combination of steadiness and rootedness, right? You think of the roots of a tree, like, they go deep. They hold steady. They go deep into the ground. If you ever try to get rid of a stump, man, you're having to chop a whole lot of things. It's got very deep roots. It's grounded. The trunk is powerful. It stands firm. You hit that with the car is going to lose. It doesn't matter because it's so powerful. But then you think about the rest of the tree, and it has a certain flexibility to it. It has a rolling with kind of what life is and the reality of the wind. Now, I'm not meaning this in the sense of compromise. I'm just saying God's wisdom has both a sense of rootedness and flexibility in terms of how we are living this out. And when you start to go, look, it's only about the rules. It's only this black and white. You're either in or out, and that's the only thing that needs to be said. That's the only thing that needs to be installed. We become a petrified tree, and it's going to get toppled over by the wind. It's not going to last. Where if we would learn to go, you know what, there's other parts of what God invites us into his wisdom. There's a relational part of it. As you raise your family, as you develop a home life, there's a whole relational component that's part of the discipline and the training and raising of kids, of developing a marriage, a husband and wife. There's other dynamics. And so we come to this simple truth here of going, look, rules without relationship often leads to rebellion. And this is what legalistic Christianity gets wrong. If I just have the right rules and I impose them on you, you're going to turn out right. In fact, you'll often get the opposite. Yes, we need good rules, and God gives us plenty of those, but they're applied with relationship and with grace, and there's a lot of other dimensions that we have to bring into real life to make that work for us. So think of it this way. Every parent has ever done this. So one of your most important jobs with the kids is to teach them how to ride a bike, right? Everybody's taught your kids, yeah, kids, you've taught them to ride a bike. That's like a rite of passage. And you taught them the most important rule. Don't fall down. Because if you don't fall down, you'll learn how to ride a bike. And to help them, we give them the tool that they need. We put on these extra wheels, right? Training wheels. And that forces them to stay upright. Because to fall down is bad. It's wrong. It hurts. And so we put these training wheels on there so we can get you started and go, hey, so you get a sense of what you're supposed to be doing. But you know what? While they can be right and appropriate for a time, there comes a time when training wheels don't work. Right? If you've got a 16-year-old and he still has training wheels and you send him to the store on the bike, when he gets to that big curve, it's not going to go well. He might not make it home. Right? Because training wheels stop you from riding a bike properly. It'll actually flip you over. As long as you don't go more than 3 miles an hour, they're good. But you get into real life and they don't work. Really riding a bike requires more than this, doesn't it? It's not just about not falling down and you can ride a bike. This is riding a bike. It's about learning to handle the curves and changes of life. You know, like if you lived in Kansas where everything's straight, you could probably have training wheels all the rest of your life. But we live in Pennsylvania. We don't know what a straight road is. Everything turns, you got hills, you got all this. And we figure out that to ride a bike isn't about not falling down. Certainly we don't want that. Yes, it's bad to fall down. But riding a bike is really about keeping your balance. Right? It's about something a bit more fundamental. It incorporates the idea of going, if you ride a bike and you're constantly falling down, guess what? You don't know how to ride a bike. But if we get too tight and we go, well, we're going to just force you to do the right thing, you actually will never learn how to do the right thing. And this is what legalistic Christianity gets wrong. These two are not the same thing. So Paul talks about this in Galatians 5. He puts it this way. So let's talk about this spiritually. He says, so I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desire of the flesh. So that last part is the proverbial crashing your bike, falling down. You skin your knee, you get a black eye, it hurts, it's painful. You don't want to crash, right? We don't want that. We can go, we're going to fix that by putting in every possible rule that we can. But you'll never learn what you need to do, which is what he says first. This is about learning to walk with the Spirit, to walk with God, to be in relationship with him. That's the goal of raising your children, not to give them 100,000 rules, but to give them a relationship with God. That relationship will teach them then how to live in the contours of life. So watch what he does here. Just a few verses later, he gives this really great list of rules. He says, and so this is what it looks like to walk by the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, and always making your bed every morning. There's not a blasted rule in there. What's the matter with Paul? Doesn't he know that we need rules? Rules would make us right. He doesn't give us a single rule, does he? He gives us values. Values that we could build rules out of. But the rules aren't the destination, the fruit of the Spirit. Learning to walk by the Spirit, walking in relationship with God is the destination. And so he adds that last line there. It's very interesting. Against such things, there is no law. It's a very profound statement of saying the law could never get you here. We could make up a lot of rules, and in your brokenness, you'd never reach it. But learning to walk by the Spirit, because of what Jesus has done, you can get to this place of where God really calls you to, a place of righteousness that doesn't require 1,001 laws. It requires a relationship of righteousness. See, with this, falling down is not a problem. You don't want to do it, but that's not everything that we're trying to stop. If we can just keep you from crashing, you'll know how to ride a bike. That's not true. You ride a bike, you're going to crash from time to time. Yeah, I don't want you doing it every day. I don't want you to do a really big one. But you know what? God has a solution for when we fall down. He has forgiveness. He has grace. He can cleanse us. He wants to teach us, though, to walk with him, to keep our balance spiritually with him. All right, on the other side of the aisle is lukewarm Christianity. They kind of look and go, yeah, those people are like really tight. They need to loosen up. We've got it right. Their mantra is, look, a little bit is enough. You know, like we're down with this. It's good. Yep, I affirm it. Yep, it's all good. But like, let's take a break here. Let's breathe. You know, we only need it in little doses. Little doses is enough. And so you'll hear this type of thinking or language of going, well, you know, I believe in God, but I'm not really following Jesus. So it's this right place of going, hey, I have some type of faith. You know, I believe in God, and I might even attend church here, but you're not really following Jesus in terms of going, I'm trying to pursue Jesus. I'm trying to let him affect and form my life. No. It's enough. I believe in God. That's sufficient. Yeah, that's lukewarm. That's not as far as God is inviting us. Or you go, okay, well, you know what? I'm all in on Jesus, but honestly, it really doesn't make any difference in my life. It doesn't produce any change. In no way am I shaped or formed by it. There's nothing that I do where I tell myself no because I'm a Christ follower. Pretty much as long as I'm a decent person, I say yes to whatever I want. That's really the guiding force of my life is, as long as I'm not doing anything terribly bad, I get to do what I want. And that works for you. Congratulations. You could probably really like that. But guess what? Your kids are going to learn that. And they're going to pick up on it. And you're going to hit a stage in their development where you're going to go, you can't do that. And they're going to go, well, why not? You live however you want to. You don't answer to anyone. What right do you have to tell me? Or you go, faith is important to me, but it's really only a slice of my life. It's one thing among 10, 12 important things. I've got it in there, certainly. You know, I'm part of a church maybe, and I do some good things here, and maybe read the Bible and pray a little bit, but you know what? It's really one piece among many that I can choose. And what you'll often find is that when you begin to think that way, is it becomes one of the smallest pieces of the pie. Because it really ends up being when all the other pieces are satisfied, faith gets my leftover. It's not that I'm against it. I'm all for it. I'm all for church. I'm all for faith. Yep. But really, it's the last thing that gets satisfied. Unless I get into an emergency, then, you know, of course, yeah, I kick that into gear, and God better show up for me because that's his job, is to make sure my life goes the way that I want it. Yeah. That's what lukewarm Christianity is. And kids are going to be quick to discover that. And they'll figure it out. It can work for you. It really reveals its brokenness when you try to pass that on to the next generation. Because usually it weakens from one generation to the next. And they're like, well, why would I ever care about that? It makes no difference in your life. Yeah, but we got to keep the form of it. Who cares? And you will have nothing to say to them. And so we have these two kind of two opposing sides. Now we might kind of go, you know what we need to do is we need to kind of hit the middle way. We need to balance these two. We got to have some rules, but let's not be too tight about that. We got to have a little bit of freedom, a little bit of fun. You know, we just got to kind of find that middle place. And Jesus kind of cuts right across that with this Beatitudes, the statement of going, nope, it's not about finding the average. It's about finding a whole new place to stand. It's not about just being a Christian family, because both of these may go, look, we're a Christian family. We believe in God. Maybe we attend church. We do some good things. We look at, it appears to be so, but you open the bag and it's half full of air. To be of substance, Jesus invites us to be a Christ-centered family, to go beyond the label and to say, what is the substance? What does this really look like? How does this play out? If it's not about the enumeration of rules, if it's not about going, hey, anything kind of goes as long as you're not too bad, like, what does this look like? And so Jesus steps into a long tradition in the Bible, goes way, way back, early parts of the Bible, where God was already instructing the family of going, this is your sacred duty. This is really important. You're shaping a life. And at some point, that job will be done, and you will release them. And you need to make the most of these years spiritually. You cannot set this on to later. Well, we'll get to that later. It's now. Your time is now, and that window will close. And so we're given that instruction in Deuteronomy 6. It says, these commandments, so rules play into this, that's good, that I give you today are to be on your, this is participatory, are supposed to be on your, yeah, how about that? Not just on your legal pad, not just written down, but they're supposed to be on your hearts. Any type of theology that goes, God was mean, angry, and grouchy, and was only cared about the rules in the Old Testament, and Jesus came along, he's nice and warm and cuddly, and he wasn't about too many rules. gets it all wrong. God has always been about the heart. And so he begins with us adults. In fact, the parents. It's got to be in your hearts first. What God is doing has to belong to you. It has to be real in your life. When you have that in your life, now you go to the next step. You impress them upon your children. You pass them along. You show them. You talk with them about it. You model it. Talk about it when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. And it keeps on going for a couple more verses of just kind of, this isn't a Sunday morning thing. This is not I dropped my kids off at school to learn. I dropped my kids off at the ball field so coach can teach them. I dropped them off at church so the church can teach them. This is your job first. The church is in partnership with you. But it has been given to you for your children. And you are to impress upon them Christ-centeredness, to train them in the instruction and upbringing of the Lord. Now, I'm going to push back on this here a little bit because God created this really profound thing. He created something that can detect hypocrisy very quickly. And it comes in a really small package. It's the most powerful tool on the planet. It's called children. You can't fool kids. You can fool me. You can fool other adults. You can't fool kids because they're paying attention all the time. And so there's an important part of this that is what we talk about and the words that we say, and we need to look at that. I'll give you a resource here in a little bit to give you some guidance on that. But words can be cheap. Words can be the outside of the bag. The words look right, and then you open the bag and you're like, ugh. And we all know this, right? We know the statement. Actions speak louder than words. And so they're paying attention to our actions, folks, parents. We can say the right things, but are we doing the right things? You cannot fool your kids. They know, and they're not even kind of going, you're a hypocrite. They're just going, oh, that's the way it works. Deeper than actions are your choices. Not so much even just the choices as much as even how you make those choices, why you make those choices. Oh, well, why aren't we going to church today? Because I just don't want to. Oh, okay. Like, they're not going to call you out. They're just going to go, oh, okay, we learned. We know what's important. Our choices reveal it. Now, I'm not trying to lay a guilt trip on you here. Those are two pretty heavy-duty things here. I don't want you to get all tight. Oh, I got to be a perfect parent if I'm going to be blessed. I got to get everything right. I got to do it Jesus' way. Like, that's what the world does to you. You've got a tremendous amount of pressure on. Like, this is such a special time, and you are a servant to your child, and you've got to get everything right. You've got to treat them right. You've got to satisfy every want and wish that they want, or you're a terrible parent. They put a lot of intensity and pressure on us. Now, this is a responsibility, but let me give you the most powerful tool you have. It's about your actions, it's about your choices, and it's about your fixes. When you screw up. Because here's the truth, folks. Every day, you're not a good parent. Some days, you're just not a good parent. Probably even some days, you might even be a bad parent. Just like me. Right? When Eileen would have me watch the kids, she'd come home. Where are the kids? I don't know. They were around here somewhere. We used to have 5, but I sent one off to Du Bois. He never came back. I don't know what happened. This isn't about you being a perfect parent. And as much as actions speak louder than words, my venture is that fixes speak louder than actions. When you mess up and you apply your faith right in front of your kids, Mom, Dad messed up. And I own that. And I'm following Jesus, and this is the way that I want to do it. And I want to do better. And I'm asking God to help me to do that. Is more profound than maybe getting every action right, because they're paying attention. And when they see you mess up, and they know every one of our messes, folks, they know every single one. But when they see us be vulnerable and apply our faith in that moment, that speaks volumes to them. I can trust God. God isn't just about the rules. God isn't just about my performance. There is love and grace. There's a standard that we need to answer to, absolutely. We're not throwing that out. But this is a relationship. If we bundle all these together, it kind of comes down to one word of conviction. Conviction is not perfection. Conviction is saying, this is what's true in my life. I'm banking everything on this. Some days I get it right, some days I might get it wrong, but I am always interpreting and bending my world towards this truth, and it's going to be God's truth for me and my household. I don't need to pretend to be perfect. I need to just live out my faith because God's walking with me. Learn to walk with the Spirit. Learn to keep balance. To go, there are contours to this. It's not just about not getting it wrong. He's got me even when I get it wrong. And I need to model that before my children as well. To bear the standard, but also live out the grace. That's Christ-centered family right there. So let's look at this real quick. I know we're getting here on time. One area. I'm going to do this super. So what about church? We'll make church a family value. Legalism will go, we go because we have to, and you're going to go because that's what we need to do. Yeah, that's going to be short-lived. On the other side, we go if we want to. You got the freedom to choose, absolutely. But I'm telling you, the kids will learn within a month of going, oh, this really doesn't matter. So why are we going in the first place? Or you could make it Christ-centered and go, look, I go because this is what it means for me in my life. This is what it's important to me. And as a family, we're going to do this. Now, here's where the tricky part comes. If you have always been doing this and have been on this path, you get to set the edge firmer of going, this is our expectation. As long as you're part of our household, this is what we do. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, this is what we do. There will be a day when you are released and you'll have to make that decision for yourself. And you get to decide that. But today, this is what we do. And it's okay to take a tougher line on that. Now, if you've come to Christianity later and you have not lived that and modeled that for them, and you've discovered it, you've got to be more careful. This is the bend part, right? Of going, I've discovered something. This is what it means to me. I would like you to come along, but you can't take the hard line because you can't force on them what you have not modeled. You get to start modeling today, and it has to be a little bit more invitational. So there's a little bit of a dance in there, right? We still are about the same thing, but we understand that this is first about relationship, not just about a hard line. We want to get there. You got it? So, this is the question you need to ask. What is the culture of my home? Not what are the rules, not what's my schedule dictate, but what's the culture? What do we value? What drives us? Or, as we've been asking, in your home, in your family, what do you hunger for? What gets your attention? What gets your dollars? What gets to dictate your schedule? The kids already know. You get to decide, though, what that's going to be these days going forward. Or to ask it in Jesus' way, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for God's righteousness. This is what's true. This is what's right. even when I don't get it right, this is what's still right and true and will be the guiding force of our household. And we will speak about it, and we will model it, and this is the direction we'll go. The incredible part of this is that last line. It's not, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, and they'll get everything they want, or that they'll be able to control their kids. It's, they will be filled. It's out of your hands then. This is God's action. He says, if you put me first, if you hunger and thirst for me and for my righteousness, if you seek me, you will find me. I'll be delighted to pour myself into your home and your family and your children. Now, don't mistake this for a promise of going, boy, if I would do this exactly right, all my kids will turn out just perfect. They won't. They're not robots. It's a relationship. They've got to learn. Your job is to model and to say, this really matters to me. It's meaningful. I think most kids will get it. There are some that I don't know why they don't. That's part of what it is. And guess what? God's still working in their life. Your job today is to say, as parents, as an adult, this is who I am. And I'll trust God to bring the blessing when I hunger and thirst for him. All right, a couple of resources. You want to think about music in your life. So 2 different levels. First level is, if you got little ones, this is a great album, Sleep Sound in Jesus. It's lullabies. Put that on for your kids when they're going to sleep. And it's by Michael Card. Wonderful, wonderful. I'd give you the CD, but nobody believes in that anymore. Then you just got Christian radio. What radio are you playing in your home, in your car? Remember, they're always paying attention. They're always paying attention, and those are soft ways that you just kind of go, you know what? We're bringing Jesus into our life and into our home, type of thing. 2 books. One is a Bible, Jesus Storybook Bible. Please don't mistake this as a little kid's Bible. It's one of the most profound books, theological books I've read. We should read that in seminary, honestly. I've thought about giving it to you adults because I'm just like, I think this will be really instructive to you. So it's really well written. It goes through Bible stories. So if you're looking for a resource to do devotionals or to read the Bible together, it's not a whole Bible text, but it's the stories, and they're powerful. And you will learn right along with your kids. And then this last one, we've used it before. We're not doing anything with it right now, but called Habits of the Household. How do you practice God's story in the rhythm of your daily life at home? Really great book. Gives you a lot of kind of practical things to go, oh, here's how we can talk about Jesus and practice Jesus in our everyday life and not make this just a Sunday morning thing. All right, let's pray. Lord, we love our families. We understand what a blessing they are in our lives, but we want your blessing. We don't want to have a bag that says one thing on the outside and end up finding out that we had mostly air on the inside. We want to be a family that is blessed by you, a family that is Christ-centered in substance. And so, Holy Spirit, I pray that you would begin with each parent and make them hunger and thirst for your righteousness. It has to begin with them. It has to be on their hearts first. But Lord, that continues even throughout life as our adult children and certainly our grandparents, Lord, that you would enable them to be such a powerful influence in their grandkids' lives. We believe that you will fill us with your righteousness if we seek you first. And so, Lord, help us bring order to our home, to bring Christ to our home in a real and powerful way. Amen.